Hello and welcome to this live webinar brought to you by Global Sources. My name is Meghla Bhardwaj and I'll be your host today. And I am joined by Steven Selikoff from Product Development Academy. Hi, Steven. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Meghla?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us over here today. It's evening for you. You're based in Seattle, right? How's the
Yep.
weather there?
We just had a very rare snowstorm. It's not very common around here to have snowstorms, but we just got out of it, and now I'm ready for springtime. I'm ready for the flowers to start blooming. It's gorgeous up here in the spring, and I had my taste of winter for 2 days. It's over. I don't want any more.
Awesome. So we've got a really exciting session lined up for you guys today. We're going to be talking about some of Steven's tips, insider tips related to China sourcing. And of course, Steven is available to answer any questions that you might have related to China sourcing. And later this week, Steven is hosting a workshop all about China sourcing. We'll talk a little bit about the workshop as well. But before we get into your tips, Steven, do you want to tell people about yourself and what kind of experience do you have in the sourcing and product development industries?
Absolutely. I don't have to hide the fact. Hey, I've been around for a few years. So and what that translates to is I have a few years of experience, and it's been a lot of fun. With my own company, I started selling to retailers in 2001. I started sourcing from China in 2005. And at the same time, I was also global business manager for Microsoft Corporation, a small business a lot of you have heard of. So I was business manager for worldwide retail sales and marketing. So I got to see it on the large Uber corporate side as well. And that gave me some benefits because Microsoft doesn't just throw you out there to the wolves. I got negotiation training from some of the best there are. Some of you may have seen, I can't say his name, but some of you may have seen him on Facebook and so on. On YouTube and so on. And I've been back and forth to China a lot. For a while there was almost a monthly commute. I love it. And really quickly, for anyone who has not been to China when COVID's over, definitely put it on your list. The people, the history, absolutely fabulous place to be. My own products, I'm still a product guy. I do have Product Development Academy, but my business is products. And over the years, I've had a couple of products on the Today Show here in the US, Good Morning America, Kathy Lee and Hoda, Fox Business News. I think I said Good Morning America, Forbes magazine, Paris Vogue, all sorts of. I've had
What about
products
the Oscars?
gift bags at the Oscars. I've had products at the MTV Video Music Awards. I love doing products. I love having products people talk about. I focus on unique products, but the methodology of being able to source products and get a good price on products, that's universal. That's whether you're doing unique products or whether you're doing products that you found using any of the tools, whether you're selling to retailers or whether you're selling online or if you're selling on Amazon or if you're selling on off of your own site. The keys are to have a good product at a good price that's profitable that people want to buy. If you do that, you've got success. And that's what we're going to talk about, getting the right product at the right price.
Fantastic. So I think, Steven, if there's anyone in this whole Amazon e-commerce space who can talk about China sourcing authoritatively, it's definitely you. So we're super excited to have you here and also, for you to be doing this workshop for Global Sources. Okay, so let's see who's joining us here. Elton. Hello, Meghla and Steven. Nice to see you both again. Hi, Elton.
Hello, Elton. Good to see you again.
Yeah, Elton, in fact, was an attendee at the previous workshop that we had done November last year. So, yeah.
Okay, and then we have we've got some new techniques he's not seen yet. We've got techniques that nobody has seen yet that shows you how to have products that are customer driven that your competitors don't have. But I'm not going to give that away yet. We're talking about other things tonight.
Right. So let's get into your three insider tips, Stephen. What is your tip number one?
So what I want to do is I want to start with the assumption that people who are listening have already taken courses, that they've watched YouTube videos, and they've seen all sorts of things from all sorts of people. And what I want to do is I want to introduce you to things that you may not have seen yet, or
Do you
some
want to
techniques
ask?
that you may not know.
Do you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to
Go
ask
ahead.
the audience? Do you want to ask the audience if they have, experience sourcing from China? Is that the question that you want to ask people?
Well, let's ask that. Let's see if people have
Okay.
experience sourcing from China, or if they've taken courses or so on, because I want to introduce people to new tips that they haven't seen yet.
Right. Okay. So, guys, tell us in the comments if you have taken a course, and second, if you have sourced from China. So, say yes and no, or yes and yes. So, the first question is, have you taken a course? And the second question is, have you sourced from China? So, Refi is saying, hello, Stephen. So excited to be part of this. Wow, I didn't realize new changes.
Oh yes.
Richard says hello. Yeah. So, guys, repeating the question again, or the questions. First question, have you taken a course? Yes or no? Second question, have you sourced from China? Yes or no? So let's hear your answers. There's a bit of a delay, Stephen, so we might give them, we'd have to give them a couple of maybe 10, 15 seconds. So he's starting to
Okay.
get answers now. No and yes. So he hasn't taken a course, but he has sourced from China. Raphael Way. Okay.
Excellent.
Great. So let's keep going, Stephen, while people type in their answers. Why don't
So
yeah.
the very first trick or tip that I want to talk about, you have to acknowledge the fact, and if you're not aware of this, you will be soon as you source from China, that Amazon sellers have a target on their back. People hear Amazon seller and that price goes up a little bit or quite a lot. And one of the things you want to do is you want to position yourself so that you can start bringing that price back down to where it was originally and then further down to where it needs to be. So,
Mm-hmm.
one mistake that I have seen, and it's been talked about in a lot of courses, is to present yourself as someone other than who you are. So, the trick is simply present yourself as who you are. You are the owner, the founder of your company. You are the boss. You are the king. And in China, culturally, kings negotiate with kings. Now, you may be talking to a low level account rep, and you're telling them that you are, and I've seen this recommended a lot, that you are a procurement manager or you are in charge of sourcing or something, and that your boss has to approve it. Well, guess what? We've all seen those videos. The folks in China have seen it too. So as soon as you say that, they know that you're being deceptive. In fact, they know from the moment you contact them and you talk about Amazon that you're a small business that's trying to be successful and that you may not know everything, but that you're not part of a like the buying department of a large corporation. So you want to use that to your advantage. You are the owner of your factory. You can certainly talk with the account rep, get all the stuff done with your account rep. But when it's time to negotiate, you ask to talk to the manager of the company. You ask to talk to the owner of the company. Say, okay, we're ready to talk out price and so on. And I would love to meet the owner of the factory. I'm the owner of my company. I would like to meet the owner of your company so we can say hello. That's all. But you establish yourself on the same level as king talking to king. So now when you start pushing for a price, you're able to push a little bit harder and you're taken more seriously. If you're not going to stand up and own it and say, this is my company, then who are you? And why should they be taking you seriously? So, number
Right.
one, realize kings negotiate with kings. Don't represent yourself as being someone low in the factory, low in your company. You are the boss, just like the boss of the factory.
Right. I think a lot of Amazon sellers do that because they don't want to appear to be a very small company and maybe they think that the supplier won't take them seriously if they present themselves as a very small or new Amazon seller. So how do you strike that balance where you're positioning yourself as a professional company, but at the same time you're not, you're clearly telling them that yes, you are a small buyer, but at the same time you want to position yourself as a professional company. So how do you strike that balance without being misleading, right? You have to be,
Right.
I think, very open and clear about who exactly you are, because ultimately they will find out.
So even though you are small, does not mean that you can't be placing huge orders. I live in Seattle, Washington. Up
Mhm.
here over the last few years, well, gosh, more than a few years ago, Wizards of the Coast was just a handful of guys sitting in an office. Now they're the largest game trading card company in the US. Funko, which was up in Everett, Washington, just north of Seattle, they were very small and they had these little bobblehead vinyl dolls. Now Funko is a multi-billion-dollar business with I think it's gone public, so it's on the stock exchange and stuff like that. They all start small. It's perfectly okay for you to be small. It's perfectly okay for you to not to know everything because you don't. They're not going to care if you're small as long as you're able to grow. They want to be your supplier. And if they feel that you have the ability to grow, that you're making smart decisions, and you're a businessman, they won't care that you're starting off small. Every single, even large corporations, their first orders are small. Their first decisions of what they're going to stock are small until it gets big. And getting big is not that impossible. Um, in my group, we focus off of Amazon as well as Amazon. And I had a conversation with someone yesterday evening who's got a fabulous new product she's prototyping, and we're already having the discussion of how she's going to get her second and third factory online. So your factory wants to be number one, but when you grow, you're going to have multiple factories. Let them believe in yourself as you believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, then let's help you get products that you can believe in so that you can grow and be successful.
Right. That is fantastic advice, Stephen. So, okay, let's move on to the second tip. What's your second tip for people?
Negotiate everything.
Hmm.
So I love negotiating with Chinese factories. And anyone who sees me, and you've seen me on a few videos and everything else, think, wow, this is great. Steven's just so comfortable with it. I am the biggest wallflower. You put me at a party, a New Year's Eve party, I'm the guy up against the wall. Just I don't want to talk to anyone. I have a T-shirt that says, I like my dog and maybe three people. But when it comes to negotiation, oh man, I love it. It's fun. And the thing is that you can love it too, no matter how. If you're scared about it, if you're intimidated by it, if you think you're going to make the wrong move, that's okay. There, negotiation with factories, with suppliers in China, is a dance. In fact, we call it the long dance. And if you know the steps to take, then you can have fun with it because it really can be great. Now, here's the thing: when you negotiate multiple things. This is what the tip is. Don't just negotiate price. You negotiate price, you negotiate MOQ. I mean, how many people are saying, oh my goodness, I'm stuck with this high MOQ. What do I do? I was just talking to someone right before this who was a student at Yale, one of the top universities in the US. Brilliant woman. And she's saying, I'm stuck with MOQ. How do I handle that? There are ways of doing it. Whether you're brand new or whether you're a this brilliant engineer at Yale, until you know the tricks, it seems impossible. But once you know the tricks and the tips, it's all easy. So yes, negotiate price, negotiate MOQ. You can negotiate production times to make sure that you are at the front of the queue and you're getting production. You can even um, you can even negotiate payment terms, and that's a big one because people. When I started, and I started years ago, It's normal that you would start off the conversation negotiating payment terms. Now everyone just assumes that it's going to be 30%, 70%, but it doesn't have to be. You can negotiate what's going to be your upfront cost. You can negotiate the balance. You can negotiate it in separate parts. You can negotiate when that balance is paid. So once again, you, even though you're choosing the product for the first time, you are an enterprise. You are a large company. Think like that. Because when your product does become big, and we want you to find products that will be big, when you're doing containers, you don't have to come up with all that money up front. You should at that point already be at 15% up front, and then the other 85, 30, 60 days after receipt. And after receipt means your BOL, not after they give it to you in the factory. So absolutely negotiate your payment terms, negotiate your production times, your price, and your MOQ. All of those are negotiable. Don't accept what you've heard from people. Don't accept what you see in Facebook groups that say 30/70 is the standard or 50/50 is the standard. Don't. It's your business, your product. Negotiate it all and have fun
Right.
with it.
So let's give people a few tips on negotiating, because I know that you go really in depth into negotiating at the workshop. But what is the right time to start negotiating, especially the price? Because should we start negotiating when we've confirmed the order, or when we are starting discussions with different suppliers? What is the right time to start negotiating?
So the two questions they're going to ask you about right at the beginning is, well, the number one question everyone gets asked is how much? What's your quantity? And the moment you give quantity, you've entered into that negotiation. There's a price already on Alibaba or on global sources, wherever you're going. And the assumption is, unless you say anything, you're accepting that price and you're going for the quantity that they've asked you to in that little chat box at the very, very beginning. So at the beginning, when they ask you for a quantity, you just tell them you don't know yet, that you're sell through multiple channels. And right now we're just discussing the feasibility of the product. And that's it. Deflect it. Don't answer a question at all. And that's the beginning of negotiation. Even though you're not answering something, that's the beginning of the dance. So you push it off and you disregard the price. When I was a kid, there was a restaurant in New York City, and I can't think of it now. Gallagher, I think it was Gallagher Steakhouse. But Gallagher Steakhouse would give you a menu, and it has no prices on it. And the saying was, if you had to ask how much it costs, you couldn't afford it. It was the place for everyone to bring their date, because women were like, oh, yeah, look at this. It's still the same thing. Don't talk about the price. Don't talk about price. Just talk about your product, what it needs. When they talk about quantity, deflect it off. When you eventually get to the quantity, assume you're successful. So assume you're already, purchasing a lot of them. We know that your first order is going to be much less than where you'll be when you're successful, but assume you're successful, because that's where you're going to set up the price. And here is part of that. Know how many of your units fill up a container, because that's really what you're going to negotiate. You're going to negotiate a full container or a half container or a quarter of a container or so on. So here's a trick to figuring out how much goes into a container. Think about your product in its case, and think about a loaf of bread. Well, we used to call it bread box, but if you're not as old as me and you don't know what a bread box is, think about that loaf of bread and put it in a little box. 10,000 of those fit into a 40-foot container. So if your product is much smaller, let's say it's a coffee mug, so 3 of these would fit into that bread box. So the figure this has got 30,000 in a 40-foot container. If it's much larger, then maybe it comes down to 7 or 6,000 into a 40-foot container. You're saying, I'm not going to order 7,000 or 6,000 at the very beginning. You don't have to. First of all, let's chop that in half. Because the moment you ever mention the word container, you never mention if it's a 40-foot or a 20-foot container. You just mention container. So now if you're looking at, okay, if it's going to be 6,000 in a 40-foot container, in your mind, you're going to be thinking, yeah, my goal is to get to 3,000 units. And what can I do in my sales to get to 3,000 units? That's a different discussion. Getting to 3,000 units is not difficult with your sales. So in your mind now, you're thinking 3,000. Again, you do not give that number. What you want to do is you want to negotiate to the right price. So what is the right price? The right price is your retail price with a 7 to 10x multiplier. That means you take your retail price and you divide it by 7. That is your target price for your raw cost, the factory cost, not shipping or anything else. Even better is if you can divide it by 10. So let's say that your product is $20, $20.99 on retail when you're selling it. That means that you want to source it for $3. And since you know what that 20-foot container is, you want to be able to source $3 per unit for a total of 3,000. We'll get back to that in a moment. With that concept in mind, now you can begin your negotiations. Now you know what your destination is. Your destination is $3 a unit. And when they come back and talk to you about the quantity, you say a container. That's it. If they don't ask for clarification, if it's a 20-foot or a 40-foot, that's on them. You said a container. So now we're looking at 3,000 units. We want to get it down to $3 each. Boom. But you're going to have a conversation with them. Now, they may have that the MOQ, MOQ may be 1,000, it may be 2,000. When they hear that you're doing a container, that conversation changes. Now they're taking you seriously, and they're going to give you a good price, but you push back on the price. Stand your ground. Don't start off at $3. That's where you want to end up. So you start off at like $2.20, $2. You can go up a little bit. You can never go down. $2.30, $2.50. Here's another trick. If you want to get it at $3, never choose that specific number. Don't say $3 and don't accept it from them when they say $5. They're just guessing. Real costs are probably something like $3.02 or $2.86 or something like that. So you just sit down. Let's grab this. You're on your calculator. You figure it out. Okay, so the price I need it to be, you're aiming for $3. Maybe you're going to say $2.86. You say, I need the price to be, okay, I've got to have a range. It's got to be between $2.55 and $2.86. I've got to be in there. They're going to immediately think, aha, if we can get it down to $2.86, we win. Well, sure, let them win at $2.86. It's below what your original target was anyway. But if you give them a range, they're always going to aim for the top, and they're going to feel successful, like they've got one over on you. That's okay.
Right.
Now, coming all the way back, you're going to start off with a smaller amount, but only after you negotiate this price out for a container. Now you come back and say, look, for the first order, we've got to test it out. You know, we need 800 units, and that's it. Well, wait, you were talking 3,000. Yeah, we're talking 3,000, but we've got to test it out. We don't know if customers are actually going to buy this or not. We're not going to buy 3,000 right off the bat. Now, they're already invested in you. They don't want to see you go. They know that you're a player. So they want you to stay with them, but they want to charge more. And it might be legitimate. Maybe if it's soft goods, the roll of fabric is a certain length. They have to pay for that. Maybe if it's maybe you've got fluorescer, something that glows in the dark within your plastic, that costs a little bit more. Now, we're not talking molds in here. Molds are a completely different discussion. But your product cost, there might be reasons. Maybe you've got a Bluetooth speaker, and the little battery unit that they're going to buy has an MOQ for them of 1,000, and you're only paying for 800. So if they are saying, no, we can't do it, ask them why. Find out legitimately if there's a reason. And if they just keep coming back saying, Well, no, because our MOQ is so and so. Then stand firm. Stand firm until they tell you it's impossible. Stand firm. That's on all of the pricing. And then this is where everyone becomes a winner. You come back and you say, okay, I need 800. What's the surcharge? What's the surcharge for me only to have 800? And they'll tell you, okay, well, if the surcharge is, if you're going to have 800, not 3,000, then the surcharge is going to be $1 a unit, $1.50 a unit, 50 cents a unit. It doesn't matter, because your next question is going to be, can I have that applied to my account when I order a full container load? Can that be applied to my balance? In other words, you want that taken off of the cost of the full container load. So if you've got, let's say 800, but for math, I'm going to say 1,000. You've got 1,000 that you're paying that surcharge on. And then your next order, you're getting the full 3,000, but that surcharge comes off, gets deducted from your balance. When you look at all of your units across your first and second order, you're paying your $2.80 per unit. You're there where you need to be. Now, here's the secret about the surcharge.
Are you going to give away everything here?
Oh, gosh, no. We have got so much more that you haven't heard. But here's the secret on the surcharge. They're either going to say no, in which case, bye-bye. They're going to say yes, in which case it all works out. But here's the kicker. Again and again and again, when they see that you're serious and you ask about a surcharge, they'll tell you, no, don't worry about the surcharge. We'll just start off at your 800. And that happens again and again. So there are some tips on negotiating price. Little bit about MOQ. We'll talk about that more during the course. Production times, we'll talk more about that during the workshop. How to get terms, we'll talk about that during the workshop. But once you know what the dance steps are, you'll be able to do the dance of negotiation without any problem.
Fantastic. So let's take a couple of questions over here. Okay, Elton has a question. How do we validate prototypes virtually if the supplier is not willing or not able to show his production floor? Would a sample be sufficient?
So the next tip I'm going to talk about is samples and how they are different than prototypes. So I'm so glad you said prototypes, because that is different than samples in general.
Okay.
But I'm going to skirt your answer here, because one of the great things we're going to be talking about that you haven't seen yet is we're going to be talking about how do you determine if that differentiation, if that prototype is something that customers are going to buy. And we're actually going to talk about a process you have not heard about yet that helps you determine what is the differentiation you should be pursuing. Even if you're looking at a product, and I'm drinking coffee, so I keep picking up my coffee cup. Even if you're looking at a product like the coffee cup and saying, well, how can I differentiate this that customers will actually want to buy it? We'll show you how to do that in a way that is very different than looking at reviews or keywords and stuff like that. So that will make sure that your prototype is something customers want, that you know what the retail price should be. And as far as the quality in the sample, I'm going to talk about that as the next point in these 3 tips.
Okay. So Elton is saying, I remember this dance tip at the workshop session. Yes, the negotiation tip.
So here's a bit of a confession. I love the dance between kings of negotiation, but when I got married, the most frightening thing was not making a commitment to my wife, but getting out there for the first dance of the dance floor. I am terrible. That being said, the next time I see you, Megla, we're going to have a dance together. And just be careful. I might step on your toes. I'm warning you right now.
Yeah, I'll practice a bit, Steven, before that. I'm not too good at dancing either, so hope we can meet in Hong Kong soon. Let's see how things go this year.
There we go. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to travel again. Yeah. Other questions out there before we go?
Elton also has a comment. I want the Christmas t-shirt design that Steven shows in his Facebook before. Maybe that can be a good item to source from China. What was the t-shirt design? Oh, I think it was the ugly sweater, wasn't it?
My ugly sweater with Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda. Oh, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so let's move on to number three. What's number three, Stephen?
Okay, number three, and I'm going to read a couple of Facebook posts that I saw today,
Okay.
and I'm going to change it enough, hopefully not bring up anyone's name or something.
Yeah.
Somebody had uh, has anyone had success with getting Amazon to remove someone's bad review? I launched my product, blah blah blah. They left a bad review, and it was a really bad review. Um, and they asked, "Is there any way?" I've asked Amazon, and they're ignoring it. Right underneath it was another question from another group. There are about a particular market, and they said there are so many evil buyers from this market. They claim the products they received was damaged. They're putting in A to Z complaints. Basically, they're saying that they're getting piles and piles of complaints about their product. So here is the terrible, harsh truth. Sometimes people get bad reviews because your product sucks. I guess that's just the basis of it. How does that happen? Sometimes it's just not having an inspection. When you have an inspection, and I hope that, and I expect everyone that comes to our workshop does have an inspection on their product. But when someone has an inspection at a factory and the product fails, the factory doesn't say, "Oh, wow, this is terrible. Let's stick them all in the dumpster." They don't do that. They try to erase your name off of it if they can. And then they call up, a favored list of trading companies. And they say, "Hey, we've got a bunch of coffee cups, and the handle is too small for people's hands. You want to buy them?" And they'll say, "Sure, okay, we'll send it to you at a discount." And they sell it to the trading company. And then trading company keeps them on their shelves, and they're happy. They make a nice picture of it. They put it up on their site. And then someone from Amazon says, "Oh, I want those coffee cups. Okay, what's your MOQ?" The guy looks, he goes, "We got a pile of crap here that didn't pass someone's inspection. We got 1,200 of them. The MOQ is 1,200. Okay, I'll take 1,200. They send them off. Done. And that person just bought 1,200 defective coffee cups because they didn't understand what's going on and they didn't have them inspected. So number one, always have a pre-shipment inspection. But more importantly, let's say you're just dealing with a factory. You're not dealing with a trading company. And there are advantages. We'll talk about this, advantages of trading companies over factories. But let's say you're dealing with that factory. Again, when you go to these courses or these seminars and so on, they tell you to find 5 or 6 or 8 or 20 different suppliers, ask for samples, ask for your golden sample. And people are saying, "Well, I want the coffee cup, and instead of being red, it needs to be blue, and instead of China," see, it says China up there.
Oh,
This is
nice.
actually from Starbucks. But instead of China, I wanted to say snowboarding is wonderful, and it's in blue with a big snowflake on it. And they expect the factory to go out there, and the factory does a special little prototype, and they have it hand printed, and it says snowboarding is wonderful, and it's in blue, and you get it, and you say, "Well, this factory, the print was a little bit off, and this factory, the blue was not perfect, but this one looks like it's perfect. It's my golden sample. I'm going with this factory." That told you absolutely nothing about the quality of their production. So when it comes off the production line, you have no idea yet if it's going to be good or not. All you know is that their prototyping department did a really good job of putting together something that you asked for. But that's not what you're looking for. You want to make sure that the factory is putting out good quality. And the factory may say, "Oh, yeah, well, we do this company, that company." I have pictures that I share in my course of the handles of a product that a factory that creates for IKEA, the large Swedish company IKEA. They're terrible. They're sloppy. The ends of the coating are dripping. They're not consistent. But the factory does IKEA. So if you're just communicate back and forth, and the factory says, well, we do all of IKEA, we must have good quality. You say, okay, great. No, you want to find out, do they do good quality? It's a real simple way. Don't ask for a golden sample. Don't ask for a prototype. Ask for an example of something similar to your product that's overrun, additional production. So if you're wanting that coffee cup, ask for a sample of their ceramic coffee cups. That's it. Doesn't have to be the one that you're doing. You want to see what actual production looks like. And when they send you an example from their actual production, you'll be able to see, oh yeah, wait, it's really great, but the paint is dripping down here around the edge. Or, that's pretty darn good. It's really good quality. It's good. I know that they can put out a quality product. Then you can follow up with your specifics and a prototype and everything. But if the factory is not giving you, if the factory is not producing quality off of their standard runs, then there's no reason for you to expect them to be doing quality on yours if they can't do it for anyone else. So start off by asking for a sample from their production runs, overrun. Because frankly, if you ask for 10,000 units or 1,000 units, they're not going to make 10,000 or 1,000. They're going to make 1,020 or 1,080 or 10,160. They're going to have extras in there. So they sit around and they'll send it off to you. They'll charge you, there's shipping and all sorts of other things. We'll talk about that. But look at actual production, and that will tell you if they've got quality or not. Because you don't want to be the person who paid everything to a factory that you thought was good. You never check their production. It comes off, and now you're getting complaints from customers because your product sucks. You want to have confidence. If you're getting complaints, they're undeserved, and you can fight them. But if you never checked, your product might be bad. Assuming that these two folks who wrote, that I read their posts, I'm assuming their products are not bad. In no way do I want to imply that they are. But you don't want to be in a situation where your products are bad because you simply didn't check out the correct type of samples at the very beginning of the process. So
right.
the three tips are: number one, be who you are. Kings negotiate with kings. Number two, negotiate everything. And number three, check your quality from production samples, from overrun, not just your golden sample. So a little bit different than you hear from a lot of places, I know.
Absolutely. And in fact, the workshop is full of such tips and gold nuggets and real world advice, I should say. So the other thing that I wanted to ask is, related to the third tip, what if they don't have an existing production run similar to what people are searching for? What if somebody's searching for, let's say, a mug, but they are, let's say, a ceramic factory, but they're producing plates and they don't have any current production runs of mugs. What do you do in that situation?
So if their quality is going to be terrible on plates, then it's going to be terrible on mugs. If their glaze has drips or rough spots on it or missing spots on it on a plate, then it's going to be terrible on a mug. So that's certainly the first place that you look. And then, can they produce a mug? You'll find that out as they prototype it. But their quality comes out of their standard run is going to be the same. There's a wonderful story about a scorpion and a frog. So the scorpion and the frog wants to get across the river. He sees the frog. He goes, "Oh, can you let me ride on your back and we'll get over safely?" And the frog says, No. The scorpion says, "Hey, I'll give you all this money." Frog thinks about it. Okay, get on my back. And they start halfway across the river, and then the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog says, "Why'd you do that? We're both going to die." The scorpion says, "Yeah, but I'm a scorpion. I can't change my ways." The factory is the same way. If their quality is terrible on the plates, they're not going to magically change their ways and be good on the mugs. A scorpion is still a scorpion.
Right. So Margaret says, "Hi, Stephen and Megla. Awesome sourcing tips
Hello,
for
Margaret.
China." Hi, Margaret. So, guys, if you have any questions for Stephen, now is the chance to ask your questions. And so, Stephen, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming China sourcing workshop. So we start this Saturday morning in Asia and Australia, and Friday evening in the US, if people are joining from the US. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about the workshop and why is this workshop different from anything else that people might have attended?
Sure. It's going to be different on two ways. One, the topics we're going to be covering, and two, how you're going to be learning them. So there's a broad range of topics. They're all out on the website. It covers things certainly more in depth in negotiation than we just talked about now. Talking about negotiating as a woman, which is something that's really important. And I'm constantly surprised at women have a secret weapon when it comes to negotiating in China, and they don't know about it. It's like, oh, come on, you could do this. Be a badass. How do you vet suppliers? We mentioned trading companies or factories. There are times where a trading company is who you want to be dealing with. Remote factory management. That is so critical during COVID when you can't go out to the factories yourself. And so how to manage and how to make sure that everything's being done on time the way it should be done. IP protection. I have recently seen just an increase in recommendations and suggestions and responses to posts that tell people, oh, yeah, just get a patent. Get a patent in China? Does anyone know how you're supposed to get a patent in China? You need to use an attorney, but more so, it's expensive. It's not easy. You still have to have non-obviousness and a novel idea. And here's a big one. The categories of patents in China are different than the categories of patents in the US. So if you are going for a utility patent in the US, which means that your product has a novel mechanical or functional differentiation, and you try to get a utility patent in China, you're actually looking at an invention patent, not a utility patent. Utility patent means something different. So IP protection. I don't want to leave this for a second. The
Right.
big
Let
answer
me
there,
go
by
to
the way, is that that IP protection is not just patents, because the patents, getting a patent in China is difficult. There are other ways. I think a lot of people know about an NNN. We're going to give you, along with some templates and tip sheets and so on, we're also going to give you an NNN you can use that covers your mold ownership. I have got at least twice a month, people will call me up because they have a mold and they didn't realize they do no longer own their mold, or they're leaving their factory and the factory refuses to relinquish their mold. You need to have protection that you own the mold. So we're going to give you an NNN that includes that in there. Here's a biggie: certifications. How do you get certifications? What certifications do you need? That itself is worth the price of the course, because people, it's great that people are aware now that you need certifications. But then their question is, how do I get them? How do I know if it's real? Is the factory just making this up with Photoshop? So certifications is a critical element. We're going to learn about the global sources match system, which is a great tool that only global sources has. Alibaba doesn't. And this makes your sourcing a lot easier. Once again, if your competitors are going out to Alibaba and they're playing, let's guess at this, and you're going to global sources and you use the match system, you're giving yourself a competitive advantage. And that's what you want to do. So I told you there's two big differences. One is the topics we're covering. The other is how we're going to do this. And this is going to be different. This is going to be a lot of fun. The number one way of learning is learning by doing. So when you start the course on the first day, you are going to be given a fake product, a silly product, not a real product for real success, but that fake silly product becomes yours. And you're going to take that product and you're going to differentiate it. in a way you've never been exposed to before. I was talking earlier with Elton, in a way that's never been done before. You're going to learn how to differentiate it in a way that customers want, even if you've never used the product before. Then you're going to take that same product and you're going to use it to identify suppliers. So now you are learning with your own silly little simple product. Then you're going to negotiate. And we have, just like we did in the last one, you're going to be doing negotiation role plays. So you're actually going to be role playing with someone, going through the tips and the tricks that we teach you, and you're going to be negotiating on your product. So you're actually taking this fake product and you're going through each one of the steps that you need to do. Then we're going to give you homework in between the first section and the second section. And if you come back, we'll have a time set aside for you to come back and talk with me. And we're going to go over your homework and your analysis and see what you were able to do while you were home that week yourself. And then we go into how do you have IP protection, how to make sure that your factory that your product has the right quality. Again, as I said, that's when we're going to get into certification. That's where we're going to get into shipping and how to deal with the shipping issues that are going on right now, which are horrific. I have not seen anything this bad since the longshoreman strike 16 years ago. Yeah, that was that long ago. It seems like yesterday, but it was the same sort of thing, just container ship after container ship being lined up out the ports. So we're going to be going through all of this hands-on, learning new things that you haven't done. And you're going to learn it in a way that you haven't experienced yet. So whether you're a veteran or whether you're brand new, you're going to leave with experience on things that you may have felt uncomfortable or unknowledgeable about before. And you'll have actually done it with your silly little product. And some of these products are pretty silly. So I know I'm talking. Let me be quiet for a second and let Megla ask
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, let's see. We have a couple of questions over here. So Jenny is saying, looking forward to it. I think she signed up. Luca is asking, who's the workshop for? So I think you covered that a little bit just now when you said it's for both new people, I mean, people, Amazon sellers, e-commerce sellers who are just starting out, as well as veterans, I mean, people who have been sourcing. Do you want to talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so let me tell you what it's not going to cover. We're not going to teach you how to use Jungle Scout or Helium 10 or Zone Guru or whatever your tool is that you like. So it's agnostic of tools. It is for you no matter what tool you want, or even if you don't use tools. And we're not going to teach you how to create your first listing and how to set up your bullet points and everything else. So it's for anyone that is selling on Amazon or Shopify or your own site or to retailers or to hybrid retailers, in store, etc. It's so the answer to it is actually a really broad answer. Sorry, Luca, but it's for anyone that wants to source in China, and even they make it even broader. Even though it's in China, a lot of this information you'll learn is applicable to multiple other countries. But anyone that's going to source in China that wants to have a product that has the right price, that you know customers want, that's going to be profitable, and we take you through that entire process. Lots of people think China is just, when you're brand new, it's like, how do I start? What do I do? It's just a country I've seen in movies and TV or so on like that. And we're going to make it all so much knowledge that you're going to feel comfortable diving into it. Now, if you're a veteran, as you saw just now, whether you've taken a whole bunch of courses or you've just watched YouTube videos, you're going to be learning things that you haven't learned before. And that's part of the fun, because it's like, I was using the example today of driving a car. The first time that you put your foot on the gas, or if you've got a kid, a teenager, and you teach them, the car lurches forward. Say, wow, what do? I have to put my foot on the gas. I have to put my foot on the brake. Where do I go? And at the same time, you've got turn signals and blinkers, and you've got to watch for traffic, and you've got lights coming over there, lights on your own dashboard. And yet there are millions of people doing it. That first time That first time is always difficult. So we're going to help you get over that first time of sourcing in China. But if you're a veteran, we're also going to show you how to lift up that emergency brake and spin the wheel so you go into a J turn and you can be spinning around like they do on Fast and Furious.
Just the negotiating tips that you share, Stephen, I think that itself can potentially save people so much money, right? I mean, if you just apply one of those strategies, you can get a better price, and that in itself can improve your bottom line significantly. That's what I really think, and that's the sort of feedback that we got from previous attendees. And Elton was an attendee, and he's saying, I can testify for the workshop was up from 4 a.m. till noon with dedication with Steven
Oh,
and his co-trainer, and of course Megla. Oh, thank you,
I
Elton.
feel terrible for you, Elton. I had no idea. Normally, I put people to sleep, and you stayed up. Look at that.
So yeah, the last
Wow.
workshop we did in one day, and we
Yeah.
we went for I think like 7 8 hours. That was really intense. But this time we're splitting the workshop. It's going to be done over the course of a week, and there are going to be live sessions on 2 days, and there'll be a gap of a week between the two sessions. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So Elton says, I want to do the exercise with Steven's sweater design.
You've got
With
it.
your,
Absolutely. Elton, that will be your product. I'll even model it. Well, not during the class. You got it. That's agreement right there.
Okay, let's quickly answer one question and then we'll talk a little bit more about the workshops. So Shenja is saying, how do you deal with communication barrier? Can you speak Chinese?
Oh, Shenza, I barely speak English. It's here's one we can do right now. Shenza, hopefully you're watching, you're gonna respond to me. Okay. Um if Megala, you're gonna pretend to be Shenza here, okay?
Okay.
And you hold something up and ask me the price. Shenza, you
Okay.
watch
How
this.
much is this?
Oh, that's $5. Now, Shenza, see if you can respond to this. After you see me do that, tell me if you think that's the real price or if you can get lower.
I think I can get lower because why were you thinking about the price for like 5 seconds? I mean, if that was the accurate price, you'd have just told me instantly.
That's right. That's right. And the price being exactly $5, looking
Yeah.
around, guessing at it, you just picked up in body language so much. And I know the next question is, well, we're not there in person. How do we pick up body language? Come to the course, please. You'll learn that during the workshop. But right there, you pick up so much without speaking the language. Now, yep, she's saying definitely can get lower. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. So here's the next thing. Sometimes it's really, really hard to understand what they're saying. And
Hmm.
that's okay. Because if you're doing it like this on Zoom or on Skype or on WeChat, or if you're just doing it in text or whatever, you come back and you ask the question again. And you can ask it a third way, each time approaching from a different direction. Because you got two things you're dealing with. You're dealing with the language barrier, but you're also dealing with a culture barrier. If you say to them, can you make, you know, this mug, can you make it with Bluetooth? They're going to say yes, because culturally, they're going to say yes to anything. It doesn't mean that they are agreeing they can do it. They're saying, yes, I heard the question. And as Westerners, we think, oh, they're saying, yes, they can do it. Great. I finally found someone who can do a Bluetooth mug, or for whatever reason it's Bluetooth. So you want to confirm what they're saying, both because of the language and because of the culture. So when you have important points, you come back and you ask 3 or 4 times. If you don't know what they're asking, you can ask for them to explain it. Ask them to give you an example. Here is an example. Lots of times when people ask for samples, they need to have the samples sent back to them. The supplier will say, "What's your account number?" What's my account number? I don't know what my account number is. Well, what they're asking is, do you have a DHL or FedEx account? And what's your account number? But they don't say that because that's not the way they're used to phrasing it. So if you simply ask them, what do you mean by account number? What account number? Then they'll come back and they'll tell you. That's perfectly normal. So sometimes it's just a case of asking again. But you do not need to speak Chinese. They don't expect you to speak Chinese. And if you have something like WeChat, there's a translator in there. There's lots of ways of translating, but patience. Patience is the number one asset to communication. And then if you start doing it from a whole bunch of countries, if you're starting to import from Bali, India, well, India, they speak English, um, but from Korea, from Honduras, where other places, get a book called Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands. When I started at
Mhm.
Microsoft and they sent me off to negotiate in Japan, they gave me this book. These days you can get it on a Kindle, but books like this thick. Every single country and culture you can imagine on, going through the basics of business communication and so on. And I can tell you that there are symbols in the US that you would say that everything's okay. And if you go down to Brazil, you'd be insulting anyone you give the symbols to. So it's a good book to have, but dealing with China, dealing with any country, patience, asking questions, confirming, when you do your PO, putting everything in writing, that'll all help you get over the the barrier of communication and culture. And then body language. Body language is universal. You just saw what I did, and it's the exact same thing. People in China will do the same thing. You'll know that they're immediately making up the price. How's that for a long answer to a short question?
Yeah, Shenja, what did you think about that answer? Let us know in the comments. Did that help you? Okay, so let's go back talk about the workshop. So here's um, some feedback that we got from some of the attendees, and this is just I've just picked some of the feedback over here. We put it on the website, and there were really long testimonials, and these are just some. A few sentences that we've taken from each of the testimonials. So Graham said the workshop was full of practical advice and invaluable insights into navigating what is a complex area for a business. Stephen is incredibly resourceful. He will tell you the A to Z of everything about sourcing in China. He exceeded my expectations. And this has been a fantastic workshop. I'm so glad I came across it and signed up. I'm so much smarter now on the topic. Thank you so much for this workshop. It was awesome with so much information. Absolutely loved it. So, yeah, I think everybody, we had about over 80 people who joined the workshop last time, and everybody had really, really, really positive feedback, and everybody learned such a lot. So, is there anything else that you wanted to mention about the workshop, Stephen?
Number one thing about the workshop is that it's going to be different. You're going to learn things that are different. You're going to learn them in ways that are different. Um, I have a lot of friends that do really, really amazing Amazon courses. How to, people who teach you how to optimize your listings in ways that you couldn't even think of before you take their course. That's great stuff. But the part that most people miss out on is that product element, making sure that you have the right product, making sure that the product is at the right price. Because when you have the right product at the right price, everything else becomes easier. And if you have a product that has got lots of defects in it, or if it's a product that's not differentiated from anyone else, or if you're paying too much for it, well, then it's going to be a challenge no matter. I saw a post again this morning. That's what I do. I wake up. I don't want to get out of bed. I'm lying there reading the posts as my dog is saying, is still sleeping next to me. And I saw one about somebody complaining about um, uh, Chinese sellers and manipulating reviews and stuff. And that happens. We know about it. And then they went on to say, and they're selling it at a price where they're not making a profit. That's not true. They're making a profit. The thing is that you're not making a profit because you are paying too high a price. They're the factory. They know they can sell it and make a profit. And they could sell it to you at the same price or a little bit lower and make a profit. The question is, how do you get that price? and let all your competitors get bad prices. In fact, I'm going to wrap it up with a different story. Um, in my program, we go to the Canton Fair and we teach people negotiation. We actually sit there in the booth. They actually watch me negotiate, pretend we're in the same company. We have business cards that match. And it's a lot of fun because they'll randomly choose things like a ceramic company where we chose and negotiate for a little floating candle holder or something. But again and again, when you're sitting in the booth, people have commented that they have watched Amazon sellers walk in. Amazon sellers ask for a price. Amazon sellers telling the person at their booth that they are the biggest seller on Amazon and talking about their sales and leaving with a price that's 2 or 3 times higher than what we're negotiating for right there at the same time. And that's where it all starts. If you get the right price and it's for the right product, the rest is simple.
Right. So here's a question from Luca. Would you cover some part of the product development stage in this workshop?
So we've only got 2 days to do so. So the part of the product development that we will be covering is we'll be covering differentiation of your product in a way that that you can be sure that customers are that's appealing to customers, and that you understand what the price should be based on customer perceived value. Um, but other than that, the rest of product development, the fuzzy front end, the design, the development, the MBE, no, all of that is just beyond the scope of this. I'm sorry to say, I have a great program, Product Development Academy. You're welcome to check it out. We cover all of that in incredible detail. Um, but this is specifically about sourcing from China, and it's only, sorry to say, it's only going to be six, probably a lot more hours, but it's only scheduled to be 6 hours.
Yes. And we'll also have a Telegram group that is exclusively for attendees. And Stephen will be in the Telegram group and he'll be answering questions as well. In fact, we've already
Absolutely.
got the Telegram group and people have, attendees have joined the Telegram group already. So yeah, we can start, conversations will start happening soon. And I think that's one of the main benefits of such a workshop, that you can really engage with other attendees, with Stephen. You can get all of your questions answered in that Telegram group environment. So Brent is saying, I did the workshop the last time. I'm thinking of doing it again. Amazing. I really enjoyed it. Is there a discount seeing I did the first workshop? Yes, Brent, of course. Why don't you send me a message and I will set you up with a discount?
I love to see you come back, Brent.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. And I think you're doing a lot of things differently this time as well. For example, in the previous workshop, you didn't really assign products to people
Right.
right from the beginning. I think that's going to be very
Yeah. You
different, the
get
way that you're doing it.
yeah, you get that product, you get assigned, and you get to apply it in a number of methods. We're also going to dig down more into the global sources match system so that you actually
Yes.
see how to use it, because that's a benefit and advantage that most people are not using, and it's right there. So
Right. And we also have an inspection company coming over this time, and they're going to be sharing some templates and they're going to be sharing some information about QC inspections,
and
AQL,
and certifications, they'll be
and
talking about
certifications.
certifications. And then we've
Yes.
also got a 3PL, which folks, I'm just going to put it out there. We can go into this more later on, but a 3PL is not the same as a warehouse. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, I need to put my stuff into a 3PL. No, you need to put yourself into a warehouse, which is cheaper than a 3PL. But we do have a 3PL because a 3PL talks about everything from shipping to logistics to warehousing in the US to intermodal transportation and all these other things that you may not be aware of. So again, we want to give you new information.
Absolutely. So Margaret is saying, Stevens, folks, this workshop last year was awesome. You will learn all about the cultural differences when sourcing from China. He will definitely teach you and show you the fine art of negotiation. Yes, absolutely. Let's see if we have any more questions. So, guys, we're going to start wrapping up over here. Let us know if you have any questions. So, Freeman is asking, what was the name of the book again?
Oh, my book?
No, the
My
book that you mentioned, the
the book
cultural
is, yeah, um, Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands.
kiss, bow, or shake hands. Okay, I'm just going to put it on the screen over here. So, there it is, kiss, bow, or shake hands. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, take
And I
note of
think
that
most people
book.
understand that means when you greet someone, are you bowing? Are you shaking
Mm.
hands? Are you kissing? And I can tell you from doing some business as a photographer in Milan, some countries you kiss on one cheek, some countries you kiss on two cheeks. But when you're in Milan, you kiss on three cheeks. Tre volta, three times for good luck.
Okay, let me just go over the website over here and I want to talk about the times and the dates a little bit. So, if you are joining from the United States, then the workshops for you start on Friday, 19th of February. And we'll start at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Eastern time. So that's day one, 19th February, Friday. And then there's a week between day one and day two. So day two is going to be the following Friday, 26th February, same timing. So I think the
That's only
timings
from
are
the
really
US.
good. That's only from the US. Yeah. So if you're joining from the US, then these are the dates for you. But if you're joining from Asia or Australia and Europe, then these are your dates and timings. So we start on Saturday morning, so 20th February, Saturday. If you're joining from Australia, Melbourne, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's the timing. If you're joining from Singapore or Perth, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. GMT is a bit, you'll have to either, get some sleep during the day. So it's 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. It's a bit difficult to manage all of the different time zones when you're doing a live workshop. And then the next session is a week after the first session, and it's on 27th February, Saturday, same timing. So those are the different days and the times in case if you're joining from
Oh,
different,
and
yeah.
and as you pointed out, Megla, it is a live workshop. This is not a
Yes.
recorded video. You get to
Yes.
interact, you get to ask questions, you get to dig down for more details, you get clarification. This is live. It's not a bunch of videos and so on. Now, if someone is in UK or India, excuse me, UK or Ireland, are they able to access a video of it in case they fall asleep at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, absolutely. So we will send out the replay a couple of hours after the live finishes. So if you are joining the workshop, if you're not able to join live on the first day, you'll receive the replay a few hours after we finish the live. You can watch the replay. You have a week to watch the replay, and you can ask any questions that you have during the week in the Telegram group, or when you join on day two, the following week, you can ask any questions that you have. And even after we finish the second day, the Telegram group is going to stay and you can still interact with Steven for a couple more weeks and ask any follow-up questions that you might have. So it's not just, a 2-day workshop and that's the end of it. We are giving you a couple of weeks to digest all of the information, to maybe go implement it. If you are already sourcing from China, maybe you can go back and try to negotiate with your factory and come back to Steven and ask if you have any follow-up questions after you've implemented his strategies. This is just an example. So yeah, there's a lot of support that we're also offering, and also a lot of templates. So Steven, you mentioned you're giving an NNN template, right? What are some
Right.
of the other?
We'll be doing an template. We'll be doing a product evaluation template. We'll be doing certifications. We'll be doing a tracking template so that you know what samples you're getting, when you're receiving them, have you received them or not. I think that I forgive me, but I'll make sure to get a list so that when we go into Telegram, and it's not going to be another day or two until I'm in the Telegram group, but we can do that beforehand as well.
Yes. Absolutely. And we're very flexible. If somebody has a specific need, for example, if you are looking for a specific kind of template, maybe a purchase order or anything else, Stephen and I both are very resourceful and we will try and get it for you. So we're very flexible in that way. If you need specific help in certain, for a specific thing, we're definitely open to helping you with
And I,
that
I
as
think
well.
I think most people know what a purchase order is, what a pro
Yeah.
forma invoice is, or a commercial invoice, but we'll be going through that as well, just so that you know.
Absolutely. So, just to go over some of the FAQs over here, recordings will be available to you, and you'll be able to download the recordings onto your computers if you want, or you can watch them online. They'll be uploaded to Vimeo, and they'll be available for up to a year after the workshop. So you can, watch them online, or you can download them. All of the sessions are conducted live on Zoom. So it's a meeting kind of environment. And you'll be able to turn on your video and you'll be able to talk and ask your questions. We'll also be doing breakout rooms in Zoom. So, especially for the negotiation part, you're going to be paired with different attendees where you're going to be negotiating. One of you is going to be playing the buyer and the other is going to be the supplier. So if you don't have an Amazon account, can you still join the workshop? Yes, you can still join the workshop if you're not yet selling, but you are starting to think about it and you want to start sourcing from China. So, is this workshop for new or experienced Amazon sellers, importers? I think we've covered this a little bit. It's not only for Amazon sellers. If you're an importer and if you are selling in retail or if you have your own retail shop, this is a really good workshop for you as well. And then finally, what is the cost? So the fee to join the workshop is $299 US dollars per person. That's the fee to join the workshop. So Stephen, one last question before we sign off over here. How do you think this workshop is different from all of the different virtual events that are happening nowadays? And we're not going to, I mean, there's some great events out there, but how do you think this workshop is different from all of the other virtual events?
Well, there are some really good ones, and I've got friends doing them, so
Yeah.
utmost respect to them. This focuses on skills and techniques and methods that are just not being addressed out there. Um, a lot of people doing these FBA workshops um, are all bringing their own flavors to it, but those flavors are all focused on what happens once you get that product into Amazon, and how do you make sure they sell faster, better, deal with bad reviews, make your listing a little bit better than the next guy's, and so on. Think about this as a companion because this focuses on the area that's not being talked about, which is sourcing, and it's talking about techniques and methods that most people are unaware of. Um, and I mean, I saw something the other day from a very well-known guru who was talking about shipping, and there are methods of shipping that people can be and should be using that they weren't aware of. Um, uh, if you, I mean, I go all the way back to when Amazing Selling Machine started off their original course. Um, if you listen to their podcast, they were in absolute awe of what happens in China, and that's what happens to a lot of people. Until you go to China, you really don't know all those little tips and tricks. We had a couple of people that came with us to China, um, gosh, 2 years, 2.5 years ago, and they had been to China twice before. Um, we had gone over some negotiation techniques, and they went to see their factory, and they came back super excited because just literally they told me just repeating what Steven said, and they were able to bring their costs down 30%. And then the husband jumped in saying, "Well, no, it might be another 10%. They haven't come back to us on that yet." So just
Wow.
repeating these things. It's all
Yeah.
techniques that you're not hearing at other places, and it's all focused on this critical aspect, which is often overlooked: sourcing
Right.
and sourcing the most effective way possible. I love those other programs. There's a few of them that I'm going to be listening to because, as I say, there's great techniques about your listings and so on. But
Yeah.
this is different.
I also think that, a lot of the conferences, they go very wide, so they cover a wide range of topics, and there are, like 1 or 2 hour sessions or presentations by various speakers, and they're basically um, just skimming the surface of that topic. Whereas this workshop is going really, really in depth into a specific topic, which is sourcing. So I think that's a huge difference as well. When you're going at a conference, you're learning about a wide range of topics, but here you're really going deep into one specific topic. Okay, so Brent is asking, is it 2 workshops or one workshop conducted over 2 weeks? So it's
Good
one
question.
workshop. Yeah, good question, Brent. And I see how it can get confusing. So it is definitely one workshop, but it's conducted over 2 sessions. So there are 2 sessions of the workshop. The first session is on 19th February if you're joining from the US, and the second session is on the 26th of February if you're joining from the US. Does that answer your question, Brent? Or if you have any more questions, you can just send me a message. And Jenny's saying one workshop over 2 weeks.
Hi,
Yes.
Jenny.
Cool. Okay, so guys, check out this workshop. I think it is a no-brainer. If you are sourcing from China, this is a workshop that you must do. And it's I promise you it's going to be a lot of value. You're going to learn so many new things that you haven't heard before, haven't learned before. I mean, I attended the previous workshop. I've known Steven for for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
And I know that he is absolutely amazing, and he is probably the best person in our e-commerce Amazon industry to talk about sourcing. And yeah, the amount of experience Stephen has, not only in sourcing, but also product development and e-commerce. Stephen, how long have you been selling on Amazon? I mean, you probably
I
started way
started
before.
I started in 2005
Yeah,
with a product that was a weight loss product, not one you ate, but a weight loss product.
right.
And in September of 2006, Amazon launched their fulfillment by Amazon service, and I signed up in October, so within 30 days. And if
Yeah.
there was a unique identifier, I'm probably all the way down at the beginning of the list because I was one of the first people to sign up. And at the time, this is interesting, you not only would Amazon fulfill, and by the way, at the time, they did fulfillment at a lower cost than any warehouse or 3PL you could get your hands on.
Mm-hmm.
But they also gave you a website. So you had your own website hosted on, at the time, their relatively new service, AWS, which they were not calling AWS at the time. But you got your own website. It was wonderful. It was cool. The problem is they had a very limited palette of colors. So I had to change my own website to match the color schemes that they had on their FBA websites. They don't offer any of that anymore. But yeah, I go all the way back to the beginning.
Awesome. All right, Stephen, thank you so much for your time today. It was absolutely wonderful talking to you. And I am really, really looking forward to the workshop later this week. And I really hope a lot of the people joining us over here, watching us over here, will also attend the workshop.
Oh,
All
it's
right,
going to be fun.
Stephen? It
Excellent.
is. All right,
All
I
right.
will see you around here. Bye bye.